confused on a lot of things until I started speaking. Until I, you see what I'm saying, and I started meeting people in a certain circle. That's when your eyes come open. But what happened? He's got a tape out. He said it's him and another brother, Jabril, was in a hotel room, and there was money on the bed. And they didn't take the money. Based on his actions later on, that nigga took the money on the bed. Farrakhan is probably, hands down, one of the most successful and the greatest government agents that ever lived in history. You see, I'm telling you what I know.
I agree with that.
So you cross the water, a lot of time when you all get it over here, it's still a fantasy ship.
So this whole thing about him not being able to come to travel here.
Yes.
So far,
Let me break that shit down. You want to hear the truth? Let me break it down. You got to understand the policy. You got to understand what's going on. This is it. You got to take this thing back before World War II. Before World War II, the people who lined up with those scriptures in the Bible, in the book of Daniel and all these things, was the slaves in the diaspora. You see what I'm saying? All the stuff about the bondage and being in bondage for 400 years and all this kind of thing here. Now we know that the Jews are converts based on Moorish Spain. Alright? Now let me break this down to you. So they did the whole bit with World War II. We already know that now, that a lot of the heads of the Jewish state is the ones that helped finance Hitler and was down with Hitler. Even Hitler himself was half Jewish. So before World War II, we lined up with the scriptures. They lined up with the scriptures after World War II based on the Holocaust thing. Alright? So what happened was, in order for them to be authenticated, one thing had to happen. It went down to two nations. African Americans and the African diaspora, who were the ones who went through the slavery and the ones who were suffering to this day, the real suffering, and a people who try to corner the market on suffering as a concept, you understand, as a political concept for political power. You see what I'm saying? World domination and mind control. You see what I'm saying? So the suffering for 6 years in the concentration camps, a little bit of skirmishes they had throughout of Europe, was not the legitimate suffering on what this biblical proportion was talking about. We are those particular people. So in so many words, that's another form of stolen legacy. You're going to steal the legacy of a people that not only did go through slavery, but to this day, you see what I'm saying, are the people that's the downtrodden and the wretched of the earth. That's black people around the diaspora. And I don't give a fuck where you go on this planet. We are on the bottom. Marcus Garvey said that motherfucking shit 70 years ago. Everywhere I go, the black man is on the bottom. We don't have no state, but Israel, you understand what I'm saying, run shit. We don't even have goods and services in our own communities in America. It's owned by us. All that shit is Korean. And now the Mexicans is coming up and they getting the check cash in places. Some people that 45 years ago they didn't have on shoes, on mortar, train. Now they're working in the check cash in places, treating us with a heavy hand. See what I'm saying? Now, so the deal here is, here's the people that have to corner the market of suffering. There's only one thing that they have to do. It never happened. It never happened to Malcolm X. It never happened to Muhammad Ali. Elijah Muhammad. It never happened to Noble Drew Ali. There's one thing they needed to do. They needed to have a black leader to go against the fake Jews to authenticate them as the sufferer. You see, this is the mystery. This is the divine mystery. You got to understand this shit. Because we get into emotion, but we don't analyze. We are a non-analytical people. That's what fucks us up. Now you got to understand this psychological thing that goes on here. Before Farrakhan, they had no history, you understand what I'm saying, of a black people against Jews. You see what I'm saying? The Jews was the motherfuckers that exploited us. You see what I'm saying? After Farrakhan, the anti-Semitism in America goes along with Farrakhan. You understand what I'm saying? That is an invention by the Jews, and he got paid off for the Jews to say that. And as a result, because of that, we can't say anymore, can you document history where we were antagonistic against you? You can't say that no more, because Farrakhan brought that to the table. You see what I'm saying? Not only did he bring it to the table, Khalid finished it. Now, to show you what I'm talking about here. There was a St. Martin's Press was doing it. They did a book on Malcolm, and they came in and said, well, look, everything Malcolm said, he gives praise to Elijah Muhammad. Why don't we do a book on Elijah Muhammad? So they did 2 books on Elijah Muhammad. One in 97 and one in 99. First one is called Original Man, Elijah Muhammad, Original Man. The other one is called The Last Days of the Nation of Islam. And these were books on Elijah Muhammad. So when they asked the guy that did the actual book, you only need the title. One is called The Original Man, Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad. And the other one is called The Last Days of the Nation of Islam. When they asked the guy who did The Original Man, what was the difference between Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan? He said Elijah Muhammad never talked about the Jews. You see what I'm saying? He might have said all white folks was devils, but he never singled out no Jews. And he said that was the distinction. So by him singling out the Jews, and it only had to say it once, the gutter religion, and they been using this shit ever. By him doing that, it legitimizes them to the rest of the world as an authentic people. So in so many words, he completed stealing the birthright from us. Because now we can't say, you understand what I'm saying? Before we never had a history of being antagonistic to the Jews and even uttering anything against them until Farrakhan made that a reality. And the only thing they had to do was to broadcast that all over the world. So him not being able to come here, you see what I'm saying, is a strategy move that was a part of the bargain to keep this misconception going. You understand what I'm saying? Even the book, the relationship between blacks and Jews, my point here is, why are you singling them out? And he said, well, Malcolm was the first person to say something. No, Malcolm never said nothing publicly. And this is the point I'm trying to say. You get something else over the water. Let me explain something to you. And all they got to know is understand that we can do what we want, because black people and people in America, I don't know about over here, I can only speak, we only have a 3-year attention span. If I ask somebody what happened in 1995, right now they could go, they might say, I don't know. No. And what was 95? See, I can go, because I have a detailed memory. Hale-Bopp Comet, O.J. Simpson trial, Million Man March. So we can go on and on and on. Ask them what happened in 2005, they might go with blank. 2005 was one of the biggest tragedies for black people. Katrina. Right now, people can't line up dates and stuff, so they understand when something goes down, they understand that we'll look up and we won't know the inception of it. What happened with Farrakhan is this. Black America didn't know who Farrakhan was until ABC, NBC, CBS News gave it to us based on the gutter religion. He didn't know who Farrakhan was. He's an invention of the United States government, the Illuminati, and the Jews, and all of them. We had no idea who Farrakhan was. The Nation of Islam was going, he is already, look, he started up back in 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 80. From 77 to 84 is how many years?
12?
No, about 7 years. It had been in existence, the new Nation of Islam had been in existence for 7 years. It was the year 1984, and this is the beautiful part about it, how you got to understand mind control. You got to understand the system. They didn't even raise the Hyman remark up with Farrakhan until they had to have a reason to even mention his name. And this is the key. Now let me show you the science on this. Nobody knew who Farrakhan was. Jesse Jackson announces that he's running for president in 93, 83, 84, he goes into the primary, and somewhere during that summer, Farrakhan does the Hemmitt remark. Not the Hemmitt, that was Jesse Jackson. Farrakhan does the gutter religion remark. Thus, they have a reason to air him on public TV because Farrakhan was associated with Jesse Jackson in the Chicago politics. And we get to know who Farrakhan is, and then there's another thing about it. It costs at that time, back in 1985, a minimum of $25,000 to rent out the Madison Square Garden. It's no, well, we'll pay you after it's over. We're not getting paid on the door. You got to rent out in advance, months in advance, maybe years in advance, maybe about a year in advance to get that venue, because you got to line it up with basketball shows and you see what I'm saying, and different arenas. Where did he get the money if he's an unknown group struggling? Where did he get the money to start renting out Madison Square Garden? And every place that he went was big venues. He started, how do you get the money? You don't have a hit record out. You don't have no promoters and producers. You can't sell enough bean pies because the thing about in the newspaper, because at this particular time they're obscure. Nobody knows who they are. Even after the gutter religion remark, people didn't know who they were. How do you get money to start renting out the Madison Square Garden and all these other venues? That's a minimum of $25,000 and different things like that. You see what I'm saying? How do you get the money to do that? Now unless somebody's financing you. Here come the other part. This is what I realize about other speakers that's not a part of the government. Anybody that is not owned and operated by the government, you cannot get commercial air and national airtime. It's virtually impossible. It can't be done. It's controlled, and anybody that you ever see that's on national TV, they are put there, you understand what I'm saying, under the behest of the Illuminati United States government. They are allowed to be on there. I'm telling you what I know. We take things for granted. We just take anybody on the TV. You cannot get on national, commercial, and international airtime on the TV, not unless you are sanctioned. So my point here is, they brought him to us.